Hi, I'm Steve with the Triangle 5-1 Ranch. If you've been watching my videos, then you know I've been preparing Ember, a 2-year-old thoroughbred filly, to be started under saddle. Today we'll actually introduce her to the saddle by putting it on her. If all goes well, tomorrow we'll put the first ride on her. So when I've groomed Ember in the last few weeks, there has usually been a saddle in front of her on a saddle rack. I didn't do anything but have it sitting there as I groomed, so she could see it and smell it. Other than that, this is her first real experience with the saddle. She was not showing fear of this object in the ground like a lot of horses do when they come into the round pen and see it there. That allowed me to move through this stage rather quickly. If she had shown fear, I would have worked with her for a while to get her comfortable, mostly by moving her around the saddle and letting her smell it. I let her sniff it, but not to fixate on it. I then proceed to sack her out with the saddle pad. I am trying to emulate what she'll see when the pad is caught by the wind and blown off. I also bring the pad up from the ground because this bothers some horses, because it is like a predator pouncing from the ground, and also because the saddle will come up off the ground. I also lift the pad using the same movements I'll use when I place the saddle on her back. It is easier to practice with the saddle pad than with the heavier saddle. I try to always saddle a horse the same way, whether it is the first time they are saddled or it is the 1000th time. That way it is done in a safe, consistent, and polite manner. I try to never let the stirrups fall and bang against their sides. When I cross from one side to the other, I tip their heads so that they see me with both eyes before I step into the vision of just one side and possibly startle them. I never duck under their necks because that is rude. I pick up the saddle with one arm holding it. I place the lead rope in the crook of my elbow. That way, if the horse seems uncomfortable with what is happening, I can reach over and reassure her with my left hand and pet her neck. I then swing the saddle up and catch it with my left hand and place it on her back. I keep the latigo tied with a simple knot when the saddle is not in use. The first thing I do is undo the latigo, then walk around to the other side and undo the front and back cinches from their keeper. I also look to make sure nothing is out of place, such as a saddle string between the saddle and pad. When I come back over to the left side, I lift the stirrup up and place it on top of the saddle. I try to never let it fall and bump the side of the horse. I place my left foot against her hoof, lean against her shoulder, and slide my hand along her underside and grab the front cinch. I then pull the latigo through the ring on the cinch, back around through the D-ring on the saddle, through the cinch again, and then place my arm against her shoulder and side so as to not pull her over and pull most of the slack out of the latigo. I then buckle the cinch onto the latigo. If she were to move at this point, I believe that it would be tight enough that the saddle wouldn't slip. I then lower the left stirrup and bring the breast collar around her chest, making sure that it does not get twisted. I buckle the breast collar on the left side and then attach the breast collar tug. I then reach for the back cinch the same way I did the front, with my left foot against her left hoof and leaning against her, sliding my hand along under her. I think I would feel her preparing to kick if she got that in mind. Because I use this saddle with most of the horses I ride, and this is the first time it has been used on Ember, I need to spend a few minutes making adjustments to all the rigging. Please bear with me as I do this. I don't edit this stuff out so that the viewer can see the whole process. I find it frustrating when watching a video and they skip over details that may or may not be important to make the video a little shorter. If a person is truly interested in learning, this won't bother them. Once I'm reasonably certain everything is adjusted, I remove the halter and step back. I don't want her to buck and kick with me right next to her. I back away at about a 45-degree angle from her shoulder. I'm also prepared to push her away if she starts to follow me. Thankfully, she calmly walks off. At this point, I want to see her walk, trot, and canter both directions. So for the next few minutes, you can watch me try and get this done. I rarely, if ever, just lunge my horses, so we're not very practiced at this. She also keeps trying to hook on. I do let her sometimes. Other times I ask her to keep moving. Ember has demonstrated that she can move about without problem with the saddle on. So I stop her and put a halter on her. For the rest of the day, I'll just do some groundwork exercises she is already familiar with. I get her to move around me on the lead rope, disengaging her back end when I ask her to. I then ask her to step over on the front end. I break one of my own rules here, and I only do it on one side. I guess it doesn't matter in the long run because I normally do it on both sides. I then practice on tracking her. I then ask her to give me her head. Some well-respected horsemen say you shouldn't bend the horse without moving the feet. They may be right, but I think the horse should give the pressure even when I'm just asking her to bend her head. It's the same to me as asking them to bend at the pole without moving their feet. We've reached a point where I decide to remove the saddle. I'll put it back on her once she knows that it is off. I just want her to realize that she isn't expected to wear this saddle for the rest of her life. It does come off. I remove the back cinch, then undo the breast collar tug, unbuckle the breast collar on the left side and pass it in front of her chest and onto her neck without twisting it. I put it on her neck so that it isn't in my way when I'm dealing with the latigo. I unbuckle the latigo and cinch, tying the latigo to the ring on the left side of the saddle so that it is ready when I saddle her again. I then step over and buckle the rear cinch and front cinch together on the keeper on the saddle. Finally, I step back over to the onside and move the breast collar from her neck onto the saddle and then pull the saddle and saddle pad off as one unit. I'm not strong enough to lift the saddle without also pulling the pad. I set the saddle on the ground, front end down, and place the pad on top of it. I then walk her around a little bit so she knows that she is no longer wearing the saddle. I'm editing out a few minutes here because it is just me bent over doing some adjustments to the saddle rigging. After making the adjustments, I move her around a little bit so that she can relax a little bit before I put the saddle back on her. I'm not going to give another detailed account of how I go about this, but I'll let you watch, thinking about the steps I've already outlined. Once I have her all saddled up again, I want to move her around and make sure she is still fine with all this. Another reason I move her around is so that I can tighten the cinch a little more. I usually do this 2 to 3 times. The third time is usually tight enough. I asked her to trot on the lead line because for a couple of weeks when she had transitioned into the trot, she'd do this little hop right at the start. That had me a little concerned because a little hop on the lead line could be a big buck under saddle. I became kind of concerned here because Ember had done this exercise many times without the saddle and had no problems. Now it seemed as if her feet were stuck. I waited for her to turn, hoping she'd figure it out, but she just seemed stuck. So I helped by gently pulling, then releasing, then pulling. Finally she came through. I decided to repeat this exercise on both sides a number of times until she made improvement. I got some improvement, and not wanting to overdo it, I decided to move on. Here you see me popping the stirrups just to make sure this wouldn't upset her. If it had, I would have worked with it until she could better deal with it. I wouldn't want to get on a horse that couldn't handle noise coming from the saddle. She had become quite good at this exercise, so I wanted to make sure she could still do it with a saddle on. First, I made sure the rope didn't bother her. Because I'm an old man, sometimes when mounting a horse, my leg drags across her rump. To prepare her for this, I rub her with my foot while she is standing there. Then I make sure she can still handle the rope being swung over her head. Some of you may be wondering why I didn't just get on this horse and ride it. I want this horse to be given the best chances I can offer. If I were to get on this horse and get bucked off, that may create problems for this horse. I think it is better to ease the horse into this. Let her get used to wearing the saddle, then put a ride on her. It only adds one more day to her upbringing, while the benefits will last a lifetime. I played around enough that I believe she now just needs to wear the saddle a while to become fully comfortable with it. So what I'll do for the next hour to 2 hours is just let her wear it and get used to the fact that if she lays down with it, it'll be uncomfortable. Sometimes as she moves around, the rigging will feel tighter or looser depending on how she moves. She'll know what it feels like when she has to relieve herself. I'm editing this video days after the fact, so I'll let you know that I did put the first ride on her the next day. I'll be working on getting that video edited and ready for release, so hopefully that will be my next video. If you find this video helpful, please like and subscribe and click the notification bell. Leave a comment if you want to add something or have a question or correction. If you know someone who you think would find this video interesting, please share it with them. Thank you for watching.